General Heinz Guderian, restored to active influence as Inspector General of Armored Troops following his December 1941 dismissal, attended planning conferences during the spring of 1943, where Operation Citadel, the offensive against the Kursk salient, was being developed by Armed Forces High Command. Guderian's position was unusual. He held responsibility for the condition and employment of Germany's armored forces without holding direct field command, giving him a perspective that combined intimate knowledge of what the Panzerwaffe could actually achieve with the frustration of watching decisions made by others that he believed would squander forces he had spent months helping to rebuild after the catastrophic losses of the previous winter. The strategic context made Kursk almost inevitable as a German objective, regardless of whether it made operational sense. The salient itself, a bulge in the front line extending westward into German-held territory, represented an obvious target for any commander thinking in terms of classic encirclement operations. Army Group Center to the north and Army Group South to the south could theoretically converge on the salient, trapping the Soviet forces within it and eliminating a substantial portion of Red Army strength in a single operation. The geometric appeal of the plan was undeniable on a map. What the map didn't show was what Soviet intelligence had already determined about German intentions and what Soviet engineers had already begun constructing in response. Guderian's objections to Citadel centered on timing and on the condition of the forces that would execute it. The armored divisions that had survived the winter campaigns of 1942 and 1943, including the catastrophic losses at Stalingrad, required extensive rebuilding before they could be considered combat-ready for a major offensive. Guderian argued that committing these forces to an attack against what intelligence already indicated were heavily fortified positions risked consuming the rebuilt Panzerwaffe in an operation whose strategic benefits, even if successful, wouldn't justify the cost. His preference was to use 1943 for rebuilding and to avoid major offensive operations until German armored forces had recovered sufficiently to conduct operations with the kind of numerical and qualitative advantages that had characterized earlier campaigns. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, commanding Army Group South, held a more nuanced position than the simple advocacy for Citadel that some accounts later attributed to him. Manstein's preference had initially been for a different approach entirely, one that would allow Soviet forces to attack first into German positions before German armor counterattacked the resulting Soviet penetrations under more favorable conditions. This backhand approach, as it became known, would have exploited German tactical superiority in mobile warfare without requiring attacks against prepared Soviet defenses. By the time Citadel was actually launched, however, the operation had been delayed repeatedly, partly to allow new Panther and Tiger tanks to reach frontline units in greater numbers, and the delays had given Soviet forces additional months to prepare defenses of extraordinary depth. The intelligence picture that German planners possessed by early July 1943, when Citadel finally launched, should have been sufficient to convince anyone studying it that the operation faced defenses unlike anything the Wehrmacht had previously encountered. Soviet reconnaissance and intelligence networks had identified German preparations for the offensive months in advance. Information that flowed partly from sources within German-occupied territory and partly from the broader pattern recognition that Soviet intelligence had developed regarding German operational patterns. Marshal Georgy Zhukov, coordinating the defensive preparations, oversaw the construction of defensive belts extending to depths that exceeded 100 kilometers in places, with multiple lines of trenches, anti-tank obstacles, minefields containing hundreds of thousands of mines, and artillery positions registered to provide overlapping fields of fire across the entire salient. Guderian's specific concerns about the new tank designs that Citadel's delays had been intended to incorporate proved prescient in ways that the operation's outcome would confirm. The Panther tank, rushed into production and into combat with insufficient testing, suffered from mechanical reliability problems that reduced operational numbers significantly even before combat losses began. Engine fires, transmission failures, and other mechanical issues meant that a substantial percentage of Panthers committed to the operation never reached their objectives due to breakdowns rather than enemy action. The Tiger tanks, while formidable in direct engagements, existed in numbers too small to provide the kind of breakthrough capability that the overall plan required, and their mechanical complexity created maintenance challenges that field conditions made difficult to address. When the offensive launched on July 5th, German forces encountered defensive depths that exceeded anything in previous Eastern Front operations. The northern attack, conducted by Army Group Center under Field Marshal Günther von Kluge, faced Soviet defenses around Poniri and Olkovatka that absorbed German armor in fighting that bore little resemblance to the breakthrough operations that had characterized earlier German offensives. Tanks that penetrated one defensive line found themselves facing another, then another, with each line requiring fresh assaults against prepared positions, while Soviet artillery, registered in advance, inflicted casualties on German forces moving through predetermined kill zones. The southern attack under Manstein's Army Group South achieved more substantial gains initially, with the SS Panzer Corps under General Paul Hauser advancing through Soviet defenses toward Prokhorovka. The battle that developed around Prokhorovka on July 12th involved armored forces engaging across terrain that, while later mythologized in various accounts as the largest tank battle in history, represented in practical terms a continuation of the pattern established from the offensive's first day. German armor achieving local successes against Soviet forces that, even when defeated tactically, possessed the depth and reserves to prevent those tactical successes from translating into operational breakthrough. Guderian's assessment, communicated through his position overseeing armored forces rather than through direct command at Kursk itself, focused on the accumulating losses among the rebuilt Panzer divisions that represented Germany's strategic reserve. Every tank destroyed or disabled at Kursk represented a vehicle that couldn't be employed in the defensive operations that Guderian anticipated would be necessary once Soviet forces, having absorbed the German offensive, launched their own counter-offensives. This anticipation proved entirely accurate. Even as fighting continued around Prokhorovka, Soviet forces launched Operation Kutuzov against the Oral salient to the north, an offensive that German forces, having committed their armored reserves to Citadel, lacked the strength to counter effectively. The decision to halt Citadel, made in mid-July, came not primarily because of the situation at Kursk itself, but because of the broader strategic picture that Soviet counter-offensives were creating. The Allied invasion of Sicily on July 10th provided additional justification for redirecting forces, but the more immediate problem was that German armored divisions, having suffered significant losses in the Kursk fighting without achieving the encirclement that justified those losses, were now needed to respond to Soviet offensives elsewhere along the front. Guderian's earlier warnings about the strategic reserve being consumed in an operation that might not achieve its objectives had proven accurate in the worst possible way. The reserve had been consumed, the objectives hadn't been achieved, and the forces weren't available for the defensive operations that became immediately necessary. The losses in tanks and other armored vehicles during Citadel, while debated extensively in post-war analysis regarding exact figures, represented a level of attrition that the German armored forces couldn't sustain, while simultaneously facing the kind of Soviet offensive capacity that 1943 had demonstrated repeatedly existed. The Panzerwaffe that Guderian had worked to rebuild following the winter disasters had been employed in an operation that, even in its most successful sectors, hadn't achieved breakthrough. and the resulting losses meant that the rebuilding process would need to begin again under circumstances where Soviet forces now held the strategic initiative across the Eastern Front in ways that hadn't been true before Citadel began. Guderian's later assessment of Kursk, reflected in his post-war writings, characterized the operation as a strategic error compounded by the specific circumstances of its execution. The decision to attack defenses that intelligence indicated were extraordinarily strong, using forces that needed more time to rebuild, against an enemy that possessed both the depth to absorb the initial assault and the reserves to counterattack once German forces were committed, represented for Guderian a case where operational planning had proceeded according to the appeal of the map, rather than the realities that intelligence and unit readiness reports had documented. The conferences preceding Citadel had included exchanges between Guderian and Hitler that Guderian later recounted in detail. When asked directly by Hitler whether attacking Kursk was necessary, Guderian's response questioned the entire premise, asking why the operation needed to occur at all, given the risks involved relative to the uncertain benefits. Hitler reportedly acknowledged that the question made him uneasy as well, yet the planning continued, driven by momentum within the planning apparatus and by the broader pressure to demonstrate that German forces retained offensive capability following the winter's disasters. The gap between expressed unease at the highest level and the operation's continuation illustrated a pattern that had become familiar by 1943, where strategic doubts existed but lacked the institutional mechanism to translate into changed decisions. The repeated postponements of Citadel's launch date, originally intended for early May but delayed multiple times into July, created their own strategic costs that compounded the problems Guderian had identified. Each delay was justified partly by the need to incorporate additional Panther and Tiger production into the attacking forces, but each delay also gave Soviet defenses additional time to deepen, additional minefields to be laid, additional artillery to be registered. The new tanks that justified the delays arrived in numbers and condition that didn't compensate for the defensive improvements that the delays enabled, creating a situation where the rationale for waiting actively worsened the conditions under which the eventual attack would occur. The broader significance of Kursk for the Panzerwaffe extended beyond the immediate losses into the question of strategic initiative itself. Prior to Citadel, German forces, even after Stalingrad, retained the capacity to choose when and where major offensive operations would occur, even if that capacity had been diminished from earlier years. After Kursk, this capacity effectively disappeared. Soviet offensives following Kursk, including Kutuzov against Orel and subsequent operations, occurred according to Soviet timing and Soviet objectives, with German forces responding rather than initiating. Guderian's role for the remainder of the war increasingly involved managing the consequences of this shift, attempting to preserve what remained of German armored capability for defensive purposes in a strategic environment where offensive operations of the kind that had characterized 1941 and 1942 were no longer realistic options regardless of what political leadership might wish to attempt. The Panzerwaffe that emerged from Kursk was smaller, and the strategic initiative that German forces had still possessed, however precariously, before July 1943, had passed to the Soviet side for the remainder of the war.